Hey guys, welcome back to the latest episode of Pit Stop. This serves as a time to take a minute from the action, reflect, share my thoughts, things I've been checking out, inspired by, watches, cars, whatever, golf, travel, all the rest of that. Wanted to share with you a couple different things. First of all, wrist check, 41 millimeter chronograph by IWC. Blue dial. Been wearing this a lot lately. Love this watch. Also threw on an Aperta V-neck in white, and in the spirit of my friend Carlos in New York City today, I threw on the National Park hat recently released, I don't know, maybe 2-3 weeks ago. A lot's been going on lately. There have been several bits of travel and hosting over weekends and friends and such. I was graciously, speaking of hosting, was graciously hosted by the Spirit of Time podcast by Matt and Greg. If you haven't checked out that podcast, definitely check them out. It's called Spirit of Time. It's on Apple Podcasts. I'm sure elsewhere. I usually use Apple. Matt and Greg, salt of the earth people, super nice guys, really into watches. Turns out Greg's got a couple nice cars in the garage that we discuss. We also talk about my GTI, things like that. So, and of course, behind the scenes stuff for Standard H and kind of my approach and history and all the rest of that stuff. So if you're wondering a little bit more about my background, go check out Spirit of Time podcast. That's definitely one of the few that I've actually been on, and we discuss that as well. I kind of took a bunch of notes for today's pit stop just because it just feels a little bit more concise. So forgive me if I'm like looking away from the camera while reading this here on IG Live, but wanted to also share with a couple different things. I spent the last few weeks actually shooting new product that's going to be coming out in the next few weeks, couple months. I actually ran into a problem with regards to one item that, without giving too much away, the trim wasn't matching the body of the product, which is a problem, right? Because you want the colors to be concise and congruent and, one effectively. So basically the trim is quite literally a different fabric from the actual body of the fabric. So if you're following along, you might catch on to probably one of only a couple of products it could be. So that may or may not excite you. The body was not matching the trim. Now, when you make clothing, there's two ways you can kind of get fabric in order to dye it. And what I do is called garment dyeing as opposed to piece dyeing, for example. Garment dyeing is basically you create a garment and then you dye the whole thing as opposed to dyeing the fabric first and then cutting it and sewing it. Just for example. So when garment dyeing something that's two different type of material, I guess, or dyes. So basically what I use is PFD, prepared for dye. It's usually almost kind of like a yellow color, like a very faint yellow, almost natural sort of flax kind of color to it before you dye it. However, you can also get fabric that's optic white. So basically it's been bleached, for example, or, effectively dyed white in order to take on color later. So the question arose, okay, well, was the fabric optic white or was the trim optic white or vice versa? Why are they not matching effectively? We came to find out that they were both actually PFD, but the trim, unfortunately, was taking the color in a different fashion, in a different manner than the body was. So as a sucker for details and somebody that really wants things to be quote unquote right or perfect, rather than run through a production and waste a bunch of money on stuff that I didn't think looked great, I'm now rerunning these samples, which, just for example, to dye one thing, it's a minimum charge of $250. So not only is it the fabric cost, the cut, the sew, but just dyeing these things as samples is $250 a pop per color, by the way. So this is just, some insight, some background as to the problems that you can run into starting an apparel brand, and yet again, how things can cost more money. And I'm trying to get all this done by the fall. Obviously, it's August. We're like knocking on the door of fall right now. More importantly, I'm trying to get these done before my trip to New York City for Wind Up. A lot of these products are going to make their debut there, just like very oftentimes I've released other products at the Wind Ups that I've attended, so this actually shouldn't come across as news, but it is exciting and one more reason to go to Wind Up or pay attention around that calendar period. I'm excited to release these. Some new colors are going to come to the mix, and I'm super excited about them for not only because I enjoy the colors themselves, but I also have a kind of a fun, unique story behind one color in particular. So I'm super excited for that. I mentioned travel. My wife and I do a annual trip every year to Cabo with a couple other couples. This year there was 3 other couples, so there was 8 of us total. Super fun. That was a great weekend. And then I hosted 2 of my closest friends back-to-back weekends. So it's been, between that and work, it's been very busy. My buddy John came to San Diego for his very first time. I don't think he's ever been here before. John, maybe you can correct me. And so I showed him a lot. We drove all over town. We went to Cars and Coffee. We went to good restaurants. We ate some good food. We went to several watch shops. We visited the Omega pop-up in La Jolla, which was really, really cool. If you haven't seen their blue collection, the summer blue, I'm sure many of you have seen it. It's really, really cool. Great dial colors and variations of blue. As you work your way through the depth ratings of the watches, they get darker blue on the dials. So if you haven't seen that, check that out. That's pretty cool. Then my buddy Chris came, and we took a kind of a boys trip out to La Quinta to play some golf. We played the Norman course and the Stadium course. We played Norman first, far more forgiving. But on the same note, like I was just driving the ball really well that day. Basically didn't miss a fairway. The Stadium course, as some of you may or may not know, is it is a Pete Dye course. And Pete Dye loves to penalize you. His courses, pretty much all of them, they kind of carry the phrase like, don't go left. So if you're a right-handed hitter and you hook the ball or you overdraw it, you're definitely like in trouble. That said, if you go to the right, at the Stadium course specifically, the rough was so thick that even if you are a foot off the fairway, I mean, it was just not quite US Open conditions, but like not far behind. And so I personally, fully, willingly, admittingly, did not play my best that day. And we were so upset that neither one of us played our best, we decided to play it again the next day. And though I shot 5 strokes better, still left a lot out there. My second round, I could not find a fairway off the tee on the front 9, so that stunk. But we had a blast. I mean, the weather was great. It was 100 degrees, so we were sweating like crazy. But great trip. Courses were awesome. We'll definitely be back. Definitely want to hit the Stadium course again to get revenge. But yeah, anyway, great test of golf if you're into golf. La Quinta, the Pete Dye Stadium course, insane. But the Norman course was also just a blast. It was super fun. Like I said, a lot unfolding these next few weeks and months, both products, events. I don't know that it's really been announced yet, but I am doing another event in North Carolina in November, but I will leave those details out for the most part. But beginning of November, I'll be in North Carolina, which is great. Super excited. I'll be able to see a bunch of friends, my family. It'll be great. then, yeah, prior to that, though, in October, Wind Up, New York City, super fun. Cannot wait. Always enjoyable. Always a blast. Always great to see people. Also unveil some new products, as I've said. Yeah, just super excited for that. Something else I heard earlier. This is going to be a kind of a short pit stop, but I heard this earlier today, and it came from a video I saw on YouTube, and this person had gone to like a career coach or life coach, and the guy had recommended that instead of saying things like I must or I have to or I need to, he recommended to say I want to instead. So replace I must with I want to. And I think if we do that, if you think about it, I think it will result in perhaps a less stressful experience in life. I know I am awful about saying, God, I got to do this and I have to do this and I need to do that. And I'm so far behind with this. If I just kind of rework that phrase and just say like, I want to do this, it's a little less urgency maybe. And so a little less pressure and perhaps just a little more lenient on yourself and allowing yourself a little more grace with the things that you may or may not accomplish in X period of time. And so I need a massive amount of help in that department. So that was good for me to hear that today. So I just kind of wanted to share it with you guys. Yeah, anyway, that's kind of it, really. Over the last several weeks, like I said, I just released these national park hats. They come in 3 colors. There's the new dad hat, the Shift logo dad hat. Before, I did a dad hat that just said standard H in Times New Roman in all lowercase. Thought it was fun, kind of, just a different type of approach than just a logo. But then I just decided to switch it up and do like a 1-inch patch as a dad hat. So forgive me, I should have had one here to show you. Along with the National Forest hat, not to be confused with the National Park hat. So if you go on the website, look under the hats, there's a bunch of new hats there, 7 in total, 3 styles, 2 of them come in 3 different colors, and then the third style being the tan National Forest hat. All inspired by my road trip up to Oregon last month. Super fun trip. I think I drove 1,900 miles in 9 days, played 3 rounds of golf, saw some friends, ate some amazing food, shot more photos. A lot of those I've already shared on the Instagram, and some I have not because they involve, again, product that hasn't been released yet. So I'll leave you with that little nugget. And yeah, I said it was going to be a quick one. Now it's gone on for even longer than anticipated. Hope you're having a good week. Stay tuned for some fun podcast episodes coming up too. In 2 weeks is the next one. And then a couple more. And then season 8 starts, I guess. Or season 9. I can't even keep up. It's like episode 113, I think, is next. Which is, again, just hard to believe. Anyway, thanks so much for indulging me. And yeah, like I said, hope you're having a good week. We'll see you next time. Bye.